Hey everybody, sorry that I am a bit late. Was on a phone call. Apologies. I will just wait. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. And we are going to go into command. And we are going to first just talk a little bit about what the layout is and kind of how these pieces are going to work together. And then we'll go into each piece step by step. So the first thing that we're going to do is create a landing page for the property that you would like to host the open house for. We're going to create that landing page and we're going to create it with a video on the landing page, a walkthrough video. Now, the first thing to say about that is hopefully, during this time with any listings that you've taken on or have had in the past, you managed to get a video either through a Matterport or with your seller, even on their cell phone walking through the home, or on your own cell phone with you walking, or video camera, I'm walking through the home and going through all the different sections of the house and the features, outside, inside, etc. Because that's really the best way to quote unquote host a virtual open house, is by having that kind of same type of tour and the sequencing that you would normally do with a prospective buyer or buyers in an open house or in a showing, right? And if you don't have that video yet, you can request your seller either take that video, or if it's a vacant property, go in and tour the home yourself with your camera of any kind and go through and take a video. And you can upload it to your Google Drive from your phone, or camera, or you can upload it directly to YouTube as well, which is helpful for what the application we're going to be doing right now. So there's a few different ways that you can do that. But the video is important, right? Because pictures can only speak to a certain amount of knowledge of what the home is like. It really requires that walkthrough to really understand the flow, the floor plan, what the outside might feel like, what the home might feel like. It's a lot different on video, right, than in photos. Now, that said, you want to make sure that you have beautiful photos now more than ever, really, right? And I know that's hard for a lot of people with sellers that really don't want anyone coming into their home. But if you can implore them to even give them a little bit of tips and tricks, like even connect them with a photographer, friend, or colleague that you might have that you work with, and that photographer might even be able to walk them through over the phone what angles to get, if they, even on their cell phone, like a good photographer will know how to instruct somebody to take decent photos on the phone just by getting the right angle, maybe positioning themselves in a certain way, what types of photos they typically take, from what angle, make sure all the lights are on, give them tips and tricks of what time of the day to take those pictures. You want to just maximize what capabilities you have in order to get the best possible pictures, because those become so important when trying to sell something virtually now more than ever. So get creative and really engage your resources, people, and any resources you have in terms of old cameras you have lying around, or your sellers might have a nice camera, rather than taking those pictures on their phone. And that becomes a little bit of a conversation too, right, with your sellers, if they're really adamant that no one come into their home, saying, well, that's great, that's fine, I absolutely respect that, but would you be willing to put in a little bit more work for me on the front end to get some better photos, or the best possible photos taken, even if that means you're going to be taking them, in order to sell your home for the most possible money in the shortest amount of time. That's really what is required now, especially when people cannot do an actual walkthrough. So for virtual open houses especially, you want to make sure those photos are great and on the listing, and you want to make sure you have a video if possible. Okay, so that said, the first thing we're going to do is to create a landing page. Now, if you're new to Command, there's all these different applets here on the side, and the one where you can actually create individual sites and also work within your KW assigned website is this consumer applet down here. It used to be called sites, but it's now called consumer because it's consumer facing. It has everything to do with what the consumer sees. And I don't know why it's not letting me leave. There we go. Okay. So if you've never created a landing page, you'll see nothing in this little field here, this tray field. But if you created landing pages, you'll be able to see the active links if they've been published here, and you can click them and go to them. If they are not published, you will see them here. You'll see that you haven't published the page yet, and you might have to do something in the page to complete that process. But for us, what we're going to be focusing on is creating a new site. Oh, let me make sure I'm recording here. Okay, yes I am. And you want to create a standalone page. You're not creating this on your agent site, you're creating a standalone page for this process. So this is where you're going to name your site. So ideally, obviously, if you're doing an open house, the landing page for the property would be named the property address. So let's say road. Okay. And then what you would do is you have all these widgets over here at the side. Now these widgets are a drag and drop content block, if you will, that is pre-formulated, pre-programmed by command, and each one is a little bit different. So this is an agent branding header or footer. That pulls information from your marketing profile in command. So that's another important thing to note, that if you have not gone through the process of completing your marketing profile and your settings in command, that is something you want to do first and foremost before creating this landing page. If any of you have not done that yet or have no idea what I'm talking about, please put a note in the chat and I'll go through that. Otherwise, we'll just keep moving ahead. So these are the different widgets. Now, basically where you drag and drop these is dependent on where this green line hits. And so obviously if you want this agent branding to be at the bottom, you can add things above it. You can move it down, you can move things on top of one another. It's pretty easy. So what we will of course need is a header. The header is also branded based upon your marketing profile. And forgive my really ugly logos and everything. I play around in my commands so much. It's not perfect by any means. But this is the branded header that, you know, presumably might have your picture here instead of this logo. It'll have the Keller Williams logo, and it'll have your contact information as well. Now, what might you also need for a listing landing page is the actual listing, of course. So you want to add the listing snap right there. And don't be scared that it says like Austin, Texas or anything. That's just the temporary, like pre-programmed populated widget field that command gives you. You can go ahead and configure the widget, and we'll go through that to be your actual listing. Now, what you might also want to do either at the very top or after the listing here, because you can see how big this like listing snap widget is. It's pretty large, but it's beautiful, right? It has the featured photo, it has the price, the address, obviously, how the property details and brief, more explanations. And this is all pulled from the MLS. And a wheel of all the photos in a really nice predominant place. So it's really pretty. It has all the features, the map, etc. So it's pretty well built out. But if, for example, this is like an open house, a virtual open house, and this is just something for you to consider personally, like, do you want that listing widget first up at the top, or do you want your video, your virtual walkthrough up at the top here? So that's something for you to decide. And you can pull over whatever you want in the particular place that you want. So I'm just gonna go like this. And say you wanted it further down, you know, if you wanted it here. I don't know why this video is not pulling in here. There we go. Okay, I was doing something wrong. So you can pull in the video, and this is going to go right below our header here. And I apologize. I honestly am not sure why this is grayed out like this, but we'll get through it. So the video here at the top, your branded header is here as we laid it out, and the video will take up this space where the X is. So you can see that it's really big, but that's really nice if you have a really great video. For example, if you happen to be lucky enough to have a video with like drone footage, or just a professional has done it and walked through, and maybe it has sound, maybe it doesn't, maybe it's a really interactive video. So if your video is great and that's your favorite part of this listing, it's just like showing a listing in person, right? You kind of start with like, you have an idea of, as an agent in your head, like what rhythm and what things you need to show first, second, and third to have the best return or the best experience for that buyer, potential buyer that's walking through. So the same thing applies to any landing page you're creating for that listing. Like if the best thing that you have to present is that video, maybe you want to put it first, maybe you want to put it second where people are scrolling to engage. But I would suggest to put the best thing, like the thing that features your listing the most accurately, up at the top. So perhaps that is this featured photo and you want to put that there first. Can the video be taken in 2 separate videos, or it has to be 1 video? I would say, that's a good question, Arlene. Let's see if you can add 2 different videos, one below the other. So you can add multiple videos. So I would suggest, I think there might be a time limit for these videos on the landing page, and we'll see that in a minute. But if there is a time limit, obviously you might need to break it up into 2, 3, 4 videos, depending on how long you want that tour, quote unquote, to be. And you can just describe like, okay, part 1 of 4, this is like the outside, or, you know, the external outdoors of the home, or just the garage, or just the first floor, or just the second floor. So you might want to break it up like that, and that's perfectly fine for sure. And remember, this is just one landing page, right? So you can just use this landing page as a one-off for one open house even, and you can just copy it and recreate it and edit it slightly for a different open house, or for, you can copy this landing page and just delete the videos to use as a landing page for different like campaigns you might be running, or for your seller to send to them to send around to people they might know, or to send it, use the link in a mailer, or whatever you want. So this is just one landing page, and you can recreate it and copy your landing pages endlessly and edit them in small ways to use them for different applications. So you don't have to worry like, oh, this is the only landing page I'm creating for this listing and I have 4 videos on it and I don't want that. That's fine. If you need that for one application, go for it. Do whatever you need. So you can add multiple videos, which is cool. And you can just click, you can delete widgets by just clicking on them and clicking that little delete button. So I have no idea why this silly thing is grayed out for some reason. I'm just gonna delete the things that are grayed out because they're bothering me. And I'm gonna just re-add the branded header. Again, it's, okay, sorry. Very odd. I've never seen that before. It could be a few different reasons, but, and then I would also add another video here. Okay. So your video, your header, and the listing. And then also, what can you add? You can add a market snap, which is really cool too. That might be a good thing to go through. And just think of this, like when you're adding these widgets, make sure that you either address them when you're doing a virtual open house or a virtual walkthrough. You can also use this same landing page site for a virtual walkthrough, right? For like a one-on-one, that makes sense because it is like in depth and all like oriented towards you as the agent walking through the client, through the listing. And that may include, obviously, if they're not familiar with the neighborhood, walking them through the neighborhood. So you may want to have that neighborhood snap with what the active listings are, what the pending listings are, the days on market, to help navigate for a buyer what you know, if these statistics are working in your favor, you can say, you know, look how many pending listings there's a lot of activity in the market. The days on the market is going down, or like you can just kind of direct the buyer in whatever way based upon these statistics. Now, these statistics might not be working in your favor, and you might not want to go through that market snap, so you can just easily delete it as well if you want to. Then you might also want to include a lead form. Now we'll go through as we create a Facebook campaign, the different types of lead forms, but this is a great thing to add to any site, obviously. So when you're doing a Facebook campaign, as I think we might all know at this point, you can select the Facebook lead generation form, or you can direct them to a landing page that has a different lead form or something. So this is what they mean by like direct them to a different site. This would be an additional lead form that you could capture lead information from. Now, as we know, like this is at the bottom of this website, right? It's not really prominent. And also, if you did make it the lead form prominent up at the top, the people might be less inclined to complete that. But it is a good thing to fill out, like or to include in your landing page, because obviously, if you do get some client that is very interested, that really does love the property, they're probably going to fill out the lead form if they're really, really interested, or call you, you know. So definitely include a lead form no matter what. Now, you would probably also want to include a legal footer if you so choose, which is just the Keller Williams. It makes it, you know, official. So we'll actually include that down at the bottom. Okay, so this is like the skeleton of what your website will look like. And now what you have to do is you have to configure the widgets. So the configuration of the widgets is how you go on to then publish the page by customizing these widgets with your information. So we'll go to the first widget here. And you want to enter headline text for your video. So the headline text would be maybe open house, 5/7 or 5/8. 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. or whatever, you know, or it could be just the address. It doesn't have to say that, but these are just different ideas of what you might want to include. Now you can enter the description for the video, as we were talking about. If you have one video, you can just write, you know, this is a walkthrough done on blah, blah, blah day, beautiful. And then you can actually feature, it's only 200 characters, so you can't like write a novel, but you can say this video was taken of so-and-so home on this day. As you can see, you know, the trees were blowing and it was a happy spring day, or whatever you want. If you do have to break out your walkthrough videos into multiple videos, you might say this is video 1 of 4. This video captures the outside of the home, or just the first floor, or just the basement. So that might be your description. So beautiful tour of my new listing. And then here you choose the source. So you can use a video URL, which would mean that it's already on YouTube. And it's very simple, straightforward. You just would copy the URL of the video on YouTube. This video is an hour and a half long, so let's try to do something a little bit shorter and see. Okay, so this property, quote unquote, this video is 5 minutes long. So let's see if the landing page will work with the 5-minute long video. So to use the URL, you simply add the URL there by copy and paste, and then you can save and apply. So it seems like it took that 5-minute video. Or you can upload the video and you drag and drop, or click to browse directly from your desktop. And the same thing would apply just by uploading it. Now, if you have it on your phone, you can email the video file to yourself or to your iCloud and download it from there. Just note that those files on your phone do get quite large. So you might want to take it in separate sections if it's over like 5 or 10 minutes. So you just upload from there, but we'll use the URL for now. Okay. Now we'll click next. And we want to do the branded header. So for some reason, I think it's okay, we'll figure it out. But the header text is the same thing. So you might want to say new listing, open house, 5/8/12 to 2. So you have 30 characters for the header, just be mindful of that. And you can change your own headshot here, which we'll fill in there. Add your name, make sure all of your information is correct, basically, that you want. So this is helpful if there's, for example, if you're a team, you're creating a landing page for the team and there's a different buyer agent that you want people to be directed to, or a listing agent that might not be the rainmaker to contact for this listing, you can update their information there. With the team logo, save and apply. Okay, so here, for some reason, we added 2 videos somehow. So we'll say 17 Fleetwood Road. And again, description, use a video URL. Now I bet it'll populate it. Okay, now we configure the listing. So we need to browse our listings. And you would search here by property address. I'm just going to use, let's see where we want to, Los Angeles, sure. We'll use the Los Angeles listing. Now you can choose the header image from the listing that's pulling from the MLS from all the photos, or you can upload a custom image here too. So that's great if you like created a custom image with maybe some text overlaid, or a special message, or a compilation image with multiple different images compiled into one in like a collage type format. So you can, the custom image feature is quite nice. So we'll just use that image. And we should be able to see our change reflected here with the new listing that we selected with the image, all the property details, beautiful lobby, and so on and so forth. Now all the details obviously get updated as well. Now not every MLS, as you might have seen with the template details and features from the previous Austin listing, there was a little bit more. So it kind of depends what the MLS is sharing with our system, essentially, as to what we can pull in and what fields will populate. But every field that we can populate here in the listing snap will. So it just depends on the MLS. And the map where the property is located. Now, the form here, you can also edit the header text. So you can, instead of saying interested, let's talk, you can say buy the home, buy your dream home. So that way, you know, it's not just maybe about this listing, but you can say find your dream home, buy your dream home. That might prompt somebody, a buyer, to fill that in anyway, even if they're not interested in that particular listing. So again, your agent branding here at the bottom, you can make it different if from the top if you want. Just make sure everything is correct. And then you go on to the next widget, the legal footer. So ensure that all the fields with the little asterisk are filled in. The doing business as logo, Hudson Valley North, office phone number, etc., brokerage license number if you want to include that, not necessary. And then save and apply.
Corinne, can I ask you a question?
Yes, of course.
So where it has all our URLs there, is there somewhere before that where we could input that information so we don't have to do it every single time? Or if I input it here, will it be saved?
Well, so I think the way that they're looking at it as the legal footer in your market center, your marketing profile and command, there is an option to add links. So we'll go into that really quickly.
Well, you don't have to. I don't want to take
No, it's okay. It's good to, these are, you know, good questions. Don't worry. because the legal footer is kind of something a lot of people don't pay attention to, so it's a good thing to go through.
And the other thing is with the legal footer, should it really be a legal footer? Like, should we have a fair housing emblem there? Should we have, you know, what, I know that we had talked about that with some other people. I think Eileen, we spoke about it with like what really legally needs to be there.
Right. So to find your legal footer, it's in your marketing profile the same way you change all of your contact information. And then you go to the compliance section here. And this is the text that you might want to add. And then you can add these links here. So these would be maybe where the YouTube channel goes, the Facebook of the Market Center, anything that you do want to add there. Probably the Market Center and or your business oriented, so you can add your own agent page, like your business page here. Then the images, the legal footer images, like you were saying, the fair housing, and you should definitely upload, if you have not yet, upload the fair housing, realtor, and what's the third one, the MLS logo up here. And actually it's really simple. If you just Google fair housing realtor MLS logo, you can really just find one that's combined, as simple as that, and just download it to your desktop and upload it into the legal footer image here. And then here, okay, so I misspoke. The legal footer links would likely be like to our Market Center website, or to anything else that you deem important. But then here you can add the social links for your business if you would like.
Yeah, I just want to say, so all websites, and I don't know if they consider this a website, we do have to have a link to the office on there. So I just have one more question.
Yeah.
How did you get into the general settings? Because I was following. I'm going back and forth from my computer to my phone, watching both things.
So in your profile here, you go to settings, and then it'll bring up this menu, and it's in the connect settings drop down, the marketing profile.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Your marketing profile is basically where you can find anything that would be feeding out externally to the public, those settings. So you can save that there. And then we'll just toggle back to the landing page here. And we can publish the page. Now it might kick back and say like, we can't publish this yet. And what that basically means is that you haven't configured the widgets fully. There was one piece of information maybe that you left out. So you would have to go back in and just make sure all the widgets were configured. So here also you can toggle to deactivate a website if you don't want anyone to see it. You can change the URL, which is really nice, especially for a landing page for a property. You don't want all this gobbledygook necessarily. So you can say at the end the address of the listing. And it also helps you, in sorting through the URLs. And then to preview it, so for some reason, I apologize, that got grayed out and I have to go back and try to figure out why. But if we go through, and I will try to edit that, because the video is my favorite part. So this is what the preview, your live listing link will look like, with your legal footer and all of the information that you have fed in, all the logos and the photos that you may have uploaded, the landing little lead form, and everything else. So I'm going to go back in and try to edit this. So I'm actually going to delete the video here. And then here you'll also see, if you click this little button, and there's an eye view, and then this little drop down arrow. If you click that to expand, you'll be able to see the different widgets you have. So I had a video widget here that was like hidden for some reason when I was doing this. So you could just delete that. And then the branded header here, Maybe I would like to delete this as well. And you can toggle it on and off to kind of also view, if you did delete it, what it might look like. And it'll also hide it from the public as well. Okay. So I'm going to go back and add a new branded header here. And for some reason, I don't know why, folks, it's just not liking my headers. I've never run into this problem before. But we do definitely want a video up here, so we will go ahead and do that. It must be the first. For some reason, the first widget that I'm adding to the top of this landing page is not cooperating with me right now. So I do apologize for that. I will inquire about that offline and see why that might be happening. But let's go back out here. Let's try, since this is working, I'm just curious. We can add our video below here, perhaps, so you can actually see what the video will look like. I'm going to use that URL again. Okay, so here's what the, running into all kinds of errors today. This is what the video would look like on the page with the header, whatever you choose to say, and then it would be a description down here. Let's try a different link. It might be because, I'm not sure why actually, but let's say real estate. Just to test out how long this video can be, let's try something a bit longer. Let's try an eight minute video.
Hello guys, my name is Hugo. Today let's talk about real estate video.
Just to see if that will work. Okay, so it does look like an 8 minute video.
Hello
is
guys,
totally
my name is
fine.
Hugo.
So that's good to know. And that is exactly what should happen, is that your video plays within the screen like this. And then we'll save and apply, and then we can republish the page once we're happy with it. Even though I'm upset that, and this configure widgets, once, as you saw, I was toggling like back and forth. You can go to the first page and it'll say if everything is set up correctly with all those check marks. So we can say we're done, but I'm not done because I want to see that branded header, and then we can publish the page. Okay. And then we'll click play. And then this is exactly, see how big this is? It's really nice. That's why I'm saying if you do have a really great video, to make it featured up at the top. Now let's see how we might use this video in an ad to promote our open house. So we have the landing page here. That's great. So we might want to copy the URL. We can just go there and copy. And then we want to create a campaign around this. So create a new campaign. A social ad, paid, typically would be good for an open house. And I've found that a lot of people are having more success with the attract buyers function. So these goals actually do matter, because if you think about it in Facebook, they also kind of prompt you as to what your goal might be. So Facebook is seeing these goals, and they are taking them into consideration when placing your ad. So the attract buyers goal just seems to be very successful these days. So 17 Fleetwood Road, we just need to name the campaign open house. And where will your campaign run? You can run it on Facebook and Instagram, or just Facebook, or Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just know that when you are running it in multiple places, sometimes the configuration can get a little wonky for the different ads. So you might want to just run it in one, like set up an ad, run it one place, set up an ad, run it the other place. Okay, now we add our listing that we wanted to add. And you want to make sure to toggle if your listings aren't appearing, all listings, and then you can search by the property address there. And no listings are coming up for me right now. I'm just having a really great time in Command today, guys. I'm sure this is like the pain that you feel too on a day-to-day basis, I know. Sometimes things work perfectly, and sometimes they just don't for some reason. And it just takes troubleshooting and trying again and being patient and reaching out for help, as I'm sure you all do when you're really hitting a wall. So let's try to see if any of these, let's see if there's all stat. If I go like this, or no, it doesn't want to give me any listings. Okay.
Do you want to try one of mine?
Yeah, give me a listing.
So do 15 Napa, N-A-P-P-A. And I think if you just click search, it'll do it. I think maybe you're putting too much information.
No, this has never happened to me before. Usually, especially when you go to, let's try it again. Let's just go out. We'll add a listing here. Yeah. All listings. Usually at least something will populate there, even if it's in a different state.
Right, you're right.
So yeah, it seems to just be a glitch, and I'm sorry about that. But we can just click out of here. Basically, you would add the listing by doing exactly what we just did, searching all listings for the address and pulling that in. And it would pull, here is the feed, like the preview of what your people, wherever you place your ad, will be seeing. So this would be, a picture of your listing and whatever you configure. Your listing would populate here. And then the text would also pull in from the MLS likely into here, but of course you can edit that into whatever you want. So a good thing to edit is if it's an ad obviously directed towards generating interest in an open house, you would say, open house, join us virtually for an open house on May 5th, 2020 from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Featuring our listing at whatever address. And then you can also give a lot more detail, Arlene's having a problem joining, a lot more details here too. So you can say, like, because this is the main copy, so, and you can see it's mapping right there. So you can say that the house, give a little bit of background, like right on a lake, detached garage. So you can give as much information. Just keep in mind that you have 250 characters there. And then the headline as well can be open house virtual. And then you can here again, reiterate or give different advice or information on how people are going to access the open house. Maybe say, like, join the open house by going to the landing page, which we just created, obviously, which we'll embed. Go to the landing page and enter your information, and we'll contact you with like a Zoom link video, however you want to configure it, because I think that it is important, and it might be a great way to capture some lead information. If you're saying, if you want to be part of this open house, which is just taking place from 12 to 1 on this day, go to the link and put in your information, and you'll be contacted and provided with the Zoom information, right? So join, sign up, or just register, I guess. Register for our open house by clicking the link and signing up. So that way, you know, also you can configure that landing page, right? So in that lead form that we had set up, it was, you know, interested, let's talk, or buy your dream home in that landing page form, but you can change it to be like register for open house here in that landing form, that lead capture form on the landing page, so that people know, okay, this is where I enter my information, and then I'll be contacted by the agent to join the Zoom video. And signing in and signing up. So it's all about how you're connecting that landing page language and the ad language. So that's why it's great that you can just kind of do the landing pages as one-offs, because you can change something every time and kind of play with the configuration and everything. But I really do think that making it a call to action to sign up or register for the open house, that way it's more intimate and like more, you actually know that you have better high quality leads. Number one, people that are actually interested in really joining you for an open house, who've gone through that extra step of registering. And two, if they don't like that property, they're buyers, right? They're really looking. To the point where they're willing to join and register for an open house. They're not just like looky-loos wandering through on a Sunday. They're better leads, perhaps. So this way you're creating that sense of community by making people register, and it'll be more intimate on that Zoom call. You're creating a Zoom call, so you're going to be going through that landing page together on the Zoom call with everybody and going through and saying, okay, here's the video of the outside, here's the video of the basement, here's the video of the whole house. And you can actually even mute whatever sound might be on that video that you took, and just talk over it as it's playing on the Zoom call. So it becomes like an actual showing almost, in an actual open house directed by you. As you're walking people through each detail of the property, each feature, which is why really good photos and at least a video comes in handy. So I think that is definitely the best way to go about it. So by creating this ad, connecting it with that landing page, creating a call to action for people to register. Here you can also upload a video instead of photos. You can create that video of your, you know, tie that video that you had on YouTube or on your computer to this ad as well. But maybe you don't want to do that, right? Maybe you don't want to give too much away and you want to drive people to the open house instead. So maybe you just want to feature a really beautiful image that kind of encapsulates what the home is about, but teases people to want to learn more. So that might be good to just use one beautiful image or one or two really nice images. And you can select them from, obviously there will be a carousel once you connect your listing here with the images, or you can upload them from your computer. And then you configure the ad again to whatever account and page that is your business page. And then here is important. So the destination, set a destination for people viewing the ad. We recommend using the Facebook lead generation form. So you can use the Facebook lead generation form, which will pull, if they click on the ad, it'll pull their information that they have listed with Facebook as their contact information, which please do keep in mind is definitely not always accurate. I know my Facebook email is, I haven't checked it in years, and my number might be wrong, you know, so there's a lot of things that can go wrong with that Facebook lead generation form. But the advantage of it is that it's automated, so it automatically pulls whatever contact information Facebook has on file for them. Or you can direct them to that site or landing page that we created directly and enter the destination URL. Or you can choose the site that you created right from here. All the landing pages that you created are a landing page that we created here, 17 Fleetwood Road, as the destination URL. Or alternatively, you can use the Facebook lead generation form, sign up as your call to action if you want them to register, sign up for the open house, or it could be learn more. And then you can do a follow-up destination URL. So it will use the Facebook lead generation form to capture their information, and then it'll direct them as a follow-up to the landing page that we created, which also prompts them to register. So it depends on the language, right, that you're using in the ad and how direct you are about what you want them to do if they're viewing that ad and wanting to click on it. Or if you just want to kind of capture all the lead information that is possible, you might want to use the lead generation form for Facebook and then have them follow up by going to the site. So it depends on your intention. Personally, I think that using the site landing page, if your language is really direct, and you're saying like in both all of these text fields, like register for the open house, join us and register, join us by registering, make it very clear, then I don't see any problem with just directing them to the site landing page and making that call to action, that lead generation form on the landing page very clear, or maybe even the first thing or second thing they see. Otherwise, if you just want to make sure you're getting, as much bang for your buck in terms of the ad spend money and getting as many leads with contact information, use the lead generation form and then set the follow-up destination URL to be the landing page that we created. And regardless, if you did use the Facebook lead generation form, if they didn't do both, if they didn't sign up by going through the landing page, but you do have like their email that they use with Facebook, you can always follow up with them because they clicked on the ad, right? And you got that lead information. You can say, are you interested in registering for our open house as well by following up? So it's kind of up to you. And maybe the best thing to do personally is to run 2 different versions of this ad, or have an open house this week, run one version and keep in mind which thing you chose, and then next week do a different thing, and just keep track of what is more successful. I think in this kind of new normal, and honestly, just for best practices in business, doing that and doing like A/B testing is what it's called, is a really important and valuable tool and skill to know how to do, and to keep in mind of how you're spending your money, what's performing the best, and really being mindful of that, and keeping track of what features you're changing to see what is the best position for you to be in, what's the best thing for you to do. So it could be like you did an A/B test, not to get too much into this, but even changing like the text slightly and just seeing what one performed better, or changing the ad targeting, who you're targeting the ad to slightly, and keeping track. So like slight variations, if you're running multiple ads like simultaneously, or I should say consecutively, keeping track of which is performing better is really important. It'll help you direct any of your other ads in a more productive way. So for the ad targeting, you want to use custom settings, most likely, and target a custom audience. Search either, and this is also important, right? So where do you think buyers for this property that are going to want to partake in an open house are going to come from? Do you think they're going to come from within 20 miles of the actual address of the home? Do you think they're going to come from a different city, like New York City? Do you think they're going to come from a different city, maybe closer by, like say it's in Kingston, maybe Poughkeepsie or something? Like knowing the property, knowing the type of property, knowing the price, where do you think your buyers are going to come from? And that's where you want to put the location to target. So let's say we did think, say our listing was in Kingston, and we did think that people in and around Kingston were going to be the most potential buyer for it. You can set your radius up to 30 miles, or I think it's 50. So say we wanted to do 30 miles from Kingston, and then change interests. So also this comes into play knowing the property as well and knowing the area. So who do you think would buy this home? Do you think it's people who want to move to Kingston and maybe they really love, let's see, food and wine, or restaurants or something like that? So we can look at the drop down of interests here. Maybe they like agriculture. It's a big farm area, obviously. So it's really, this is also where you can get creative and think like, okay, well, this is a kind of probably a first-time buyer home. So think about what first-time home buyers might be, who they might be, and what they might like. Maybe they would like budgeting because they're budgeting for their new home. You know, maybe they would like pages related to business or travel. Maybe they would like cars if they're, you know, it's just all about knowing your potential buyer. I think that's almost as important as knowing the property, right? Like knowing the property and then converting that into knowing who the buyer is most likely to be. And that's a hard thing to do, but obviously it comes with experience. And that's really how you're going to get the most money out of any ads that you're placing, by paying attention to that. And also paying attention to what you're listing each time you're running an ad. So maybe the one interest that you keep putting and like the ads just aren't performing well, make sure you're paying attention to that, because those people just might not be really active on Facebook, or they might, you know, so there's all these different variables that you want to make sure you're keeping track of for the most bang for your buck. So let's say these people that we think might attend this open house are really interested in cryptocurrency and digital marketing.
Can I say something again,
Of
Corinne?
course, Beth.
So it's been a long time. I mean, I've been running them here, but when I used to run ads on Facebook, I hadn't done them in a while. You could put in things like skiing, horseback riding, those kind of things. How come there was nothing like that there? Like that's really things that people are interested in. Boating.
Yeah, they break them down, I think, a little differently. For some reason, they're like more general. And they're more so, and I also think that it's the way Facebook has been changing their algorithms as well. So it's not only like cryptocurrency that they like on Facebook, so to speak, but it's everything that Facebook is everywhere. Like they're tracking you everywhere. Really, it's kind of creepy. So they're tracking basically their Facebook users all over the web. So anywhere they go. So maybe they're not going to like skiing websites, but maybe it's more about like who the person is and what job they have and maybe who they are, rather than really it's called interests, but it's more like what their personal profile is, kind of. And that's the way Facebook tracks people. So I understand what you're saying though, because I was looking for like swimming or something the other day and it didn't come up. But by scrolling through, you might be able to see like maybe it's entertainment, or maybe it's first time buyer, or freelancer, or furniture, gastronomy. So there's still a lot of options. Grocery store, health and wellness is a good one for people that are really into sports. That certainly applies. Let's see what else there is. Housing, hybrids, industry, jobs, journalism. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of options, but I understand what you're saying. It's not like so specific, but perhaps that's by design. I can't say really one way or the other, but I would assume that it's by design because they're trying to capture broad audiences here. And perhaps those audiences, when you're trying to target that specifically, are just a little bit too niche.
Well, that's what we're looking for, is niche.
Well, it depends, right? Like, because so Facebook, the way the algorithm works, you're selecting these audiences, but then it's not getting blasted out to all those audiences. Then Facebook's reading like what you're selecting and reading who's active on Facebook, who's going to be most primed to receive that ad at that moment. So it's really like kind of a combination of things. But I mean, I understand what you're saying, but yeah, these are the options that we have here. And I think that they are, like, as you read through them, it does seem like they're kind of oriented towards real estate, right? Like there's a lot of stuff about mortgage, moving. So it's with like the way the whole system was designed was with already like our best interest as real estate agents in mind, it seems, because all of these things are more about like what their job is and like mortgaging and investing and kind of those interests, which are more real estate related, which I think makes sense. Okay. And then we would save it. Save the Facebook ad. Mine's not going to work to save because I don't have everything filled in. But essentially, after you save it, you want to go to your duration and budget and make sure that you have the duration set up correctly. So if it's an open house you're trying to gain attention towards, 10 days might be too long. You might only want to run it for 5 days. If your open house is on, Sunday or something, you could do a Tuesday through Saturday. 4 days, and then your total campaign budget. Maybe you only want to spend $15 for each open house. And just think of this ad spend now that we're doing things virtually as what you might put into your time in like posting up open house signs or buying hors d'oeuvres or snacks or drinks or something like that for an open house. So if you have the budget normally in your, your advertising or marketing budget when you're doing open houses, I would consider that in whatever ad spend you're putting out towards out there, because obviously the more money you place out, the more leads you might get. So just, you don't have to match that budget that you would have for a physical open house, but just consider that when you're putting forth these paid ads as well. Okay, and then we would save it and publish it. And please note that it does take, sometimes there's a lag of 24 hours to get the Facebook ad running. If it does take more than that, there's probably an issue, and you might need to go in and edit a word or two. And as long as it hasn't started running, you won't be charged twice. So you might have to edit a word or two and then just republish it to get it going. But just keep that in mind. I think last weekend there were a few issues. I'm not sure why, but a few people were having problems getting their Facebook ads published in a timely manner. So try to plan ahead accordingly and not, try to publish something the day you need it to go out. Try to plan ahead a little bit, and so you have that wiggle room just in case. But that's about it, guys. If you do have any other questions, please let me know. And also, as a resource on KW Connect, there's a whole kind of web guide on doing virtual showings and virtual open houses. And there's a bunch of resources, obviously, if you don't know already, in the Pivot Shift Ahead area, lead gen and conversion. And all of these videos really can apply to how to do lead gen and convert virtually, essentially, and during this time of a pivot. So the promise in a shifting market, Facebook in a shifting market, shift your market, handling objections. And I know that there was one on open houses and stuff as well. And if you want to search generally, you can just go up here. So virtual showing guide here, changing how we look at real estate, turning your real estate virtual. So there's a lot of different resources that have both been listed by Keller Williams itself and other big agents about shifting your business virtually. Ultimate guide to hosting a virtual open house. So you definitely want to read through these just to get a sense of what other people are doing and kind of what is being suggested as best practice. So landing pages and command, which is just what we went through today, promoting and lead capturing, standalone custom landing pages, prep work, doing a pre-walkthrough, testing your tech, all these best practices that you would want to consider for a virtual open house. So I'm going to copy and paste this into the chat so you guys can have access to this. And I would encourage you to go through KW Connect as well, and the shift resources. There's a long link. And that's about it, everybody. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me, call me, and I'm happy to help out.
Thank you, Corinne. It was
You're
a
welcome,
great
Beth.
class.
Thanks. All right, take care. I appreciate it.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.